Have you ever found yourself hanging out with a group and someone tells a joke that just goes completely over your head, but you laugh anyway? Right? You just chuckle right along with them to fit in? Honestly, we've all been there. It's this deeply ingrained human instinct to just kind of match the energy of the room. Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're exploring the fascinating world of social conformity and that incredible tension between our desperate desire to fit in and the lifelong quest to figure out who we actually truly are. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with everyday behavior and go all the way down to the deepest philosophical questions of who we really are. We'll cover 1, the social chameleon, 2, the looking glass self, 3, the power of the crowd, 4, the cost of bad faith, 5, true and false selves, and finally, 6, the path to authenticity. All right, Section 1, the social chameleon. So what does it actually mean to instinctively adapt to our social surroundings? Like, why do we do it, and where does that impulse even come from? I want you to take a quick second and just reflect on your own life right now. Are you a social chameleon? You know, someone who readily and often totally effortlessly adapts to new social settings? It's like you can seamlessly shift your social skills and adjust your whole persona to match whoever happens to be in the room. Now, we usually think of this as a bad thing, right? Like some sort of manipulation tactic, but actually, it's a completely subconscious survival mechanism. The core traits of a social chameleon include empathy, adaptability, social awareness, effective communication, and mimicking movements. And you know, that last one, mimicry, is absolutely crucial. Historically, early humans actually used mimicking movements to establish trust and figure out who was an ally. If someone mirrored your posture, or maybe crossed their arms when you did, or mirrored your smile, it signaled safety. And guess what? We literally still do this today. It's like this evolutionary social glue that helps us navigate our complex relationships.
Moving right along to Section 2, the looking glass self.
To really grasp the sociological mechanisms behind this blending behavior, we actually have to rewind all the way back to 1902. Sociologist Charles Horton Cooley introduced this brilliant concept that breaks our self-perception down into 3 distinct steps. Step 1, we imagine our appearance from another person's perspective. Step 2, we imagine their judgment of us. And step 3, we have an emotional reaction, like pride or shame, based entirely on that imagined judgment. Essentially, our self-concept acts like a giant mirror. We're using our social interactions to indirectly observe ourselves, basically reflecting the imagined evaluations of the people around us. And this brings us to a famously profound quote from the study of Cooley's work. Listen to this. I am not what I think I am, and I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. Wow. Just let that sink in for a moment. I am what I think you think I am. And in our modern era, this effect is amplified exponentially. Social media platforms, the content we constantly post for likes, even the specific emojis we carefully select just to ensure we're perceived a certain way, they all serve as this massive digital mirror reflecting our looking glass self right back at us. Section 3, the power of the crowd. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we pivot into social psychology and the intense pressure to conform. So, why do we actually conform? Well, social psychologists divide this pressure into 2 main types. First, we have normative influence. This is conforming simply to fit in and avoid rejection. It's like pretending to love a bizarre fashion trend just because your friends do, driven purely by the fear of looking foolish. Then, we have informational influence. This is when you conform because you genuinely want to be correct in a situation where you lack knowledge. Think about sitting down at a super fancy restaurant, being totally confused by the 6 different forks, and just waiting to see which one the person next to you uses. One is about social survival, and the other is about seeking accurate information. To prove just how incredibly strong that normative influence is, we have to look at this shocking number, 32%. Back in the famous Ash line study from the 1950s, participants were asked to match the length of a line to 3 choices. It was an unambiguous, extremely easy visual task. Literally anyone could do it. But when placed in a room with actors who intentionally gave the wrong answer, real participants conformed to the incorrect group a massive 32% of the time. That's wild. Social pressure literally caused them to override obvious, objective visual evidence just to avoid feeling rejected by total strangers. And it's not just the people around us, it's the environment itself. Trait activation theory contrasts what we call strong and weak situations. In a strong situation, like a highly structured corporate job with super clear rules, there's very low variance in behavior. Everyone acts the same, and your natural personality gets suppressed. But in a weak situation, which is unstructured and decentralized, there's high variance. There are very few cues on how to act, so your true unique personality finally gets a chance to shine through.
Section 4. The cost of bad faith.
While conforming and adapting can absolutely be fantastic survival tools, we need to take a step back and examine the hidden cost of constantly wearing these social masks. This brings us to the existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre and his fascinating concept of bad faith, or mauvaise foi. Bad faith is basically a state of profound self-deception. It's when we deny our own freedom and our capacity to change our lives. Sartre used this famous example of a cafe waiter. He described a waiter whose movements are just a little too quick, a little too precise, kind of like an actor in a play. The waiter is playing the role of a waiter so completely that he treats his job as an inescapable destiny. He essentially tells himself, I am just a waiter. I have no other options. And this brilliantly illustrates the two fundamental sides of the human condition in existentialism: facticity versus transcendence. Facticity represents the unchangeable cards we're dealt in life. Our biology, our early environment, our past choices. But transcendence, that is our absolute freedom to play those cards however we want and invent something entirely new. Bad faith occurs when we falsely believe our facticity completely erases our transcendence. It's the tragedy of believing that your current situation is just permanent and unchangeable. I want you to think about your own life for a second. Where are you confusing a temporary situation for a permanent destiny? Section 5, True and False Selves. Let's move to and see how this builds into psychoanalysis and the internal battle within our minds. This external behavior we've been talking about actually mirrors a fierce internal battle. The psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott conceptualized the tension between the true self and the false self. The true self is spontaneous, it's authentic, and it feels completely alive. It's deeply rooted in our earliest instinctual sense of just simply being. The false self, on the other hand, is a defensive facade. It's an image we create to comply with the expectations of our parents or society as a whole. Now, it's constructed to protect our true, vulnerable core from being exploited. But over time, it can leave us feeling incredibly empty and honestly dead inside. We can actually map this directly to the internal family systems model. In this framework, we have the self, which is our integrated, calm, and curious core. Now think of exiles as our highly vulnerable, deeply wounded parts that are holding on to past pain. To protect those exiles, our mind develops managers and firefighters. These are essentially our false self-protectors. Now, they mean well, they really do, but they end up sabotaging our true integrity just to keep those vulnerable parts safely hidden from the outside world. Section 6. The path to authenticity. All right, so how do we actually break free? How do we strip away the false selves, overcome bad faith, and step confidently into who we really are? Well, here are 4 actionable steps out of bad faith and into true authenticity. Number 1, self-reflection. Figure out exactly why you're wearing the mask in the first place. Is it just to please others? Number 2, cultivate self-acceptance. Embrace your current reality and your flaws so you aren't driven by shame. Number 3, challenge societal expectations. Stop letting external validation dictate your self-worth. And number 4, pursue authenticity. So, the crucial point is taking full, unapologetic ownership of your life. You are not just your job title, and you're certainly not just the reflection in society's mirror. I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought. Who are you when no one else is watching? When the looking glass is put away, when the pressure of the crowd is entirely gone, and when your internal protectors finally step down, who is left? I challenge you to step away from the mirror this week and discover your true, unmanaged self. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.